Good morning. It is an absolutely stonking day. Bright sunshine. Oh fuck, fence to fall into. But yeah, very nice and sunny. Very cold. Ground is damp again still. The boot area is a little bit wet because it did fill with water again last night, which is slightly annoying. Plan for today: finish that repair down there while the rear is off, tidy up the whole of the boot floor, weld in the tie down leash thing for the spare wheel, which goes from there, and then the strap would go over the spare wheel and connect into there. Then prep for the rear lamp panel to go in. I still need to repair this area here. My original plan was to put the rear lamp panel in first and then build that up to join it. I don't know yet whether that's what I'm going to do, or whether I might clamp the panel in loosely. Then I can make that bit to the panel, but have the panel back out to then weld it in neatly. So I'm kind of making it up as I go along again. But I'm going to go find some gloves, clean all of that out, get some cardboard templates on the go for that area, and crack on. I've been doing some more trimming down in that corner. I need to trim a piece out here and repair that because that's a bit frillier than I would like. I also chopped out the hanger for the exhaust silencer, which is that hook there. So I'll salvage the hook. That's the new bit to go on, and I've just marked underneath where the hook, I mean, you will notice that is not a particularly regular shape, but by the time it's covered in seam sealer, sound deadening pads, textured under seal, it really won't matter. So as long as it's on there. Basically water had got in and blistered the panels apart again, so that's annoying, but it's kind of easy to fix, so I'll just do that now. That's my little repair bracket that can go in like so, and I've taken a little reference measurement or scratch for where the hook needs to go. That was that bit chopped out of there. You can see it had started to rust underneath, so I've chopped back until I've got decent steel all the way around. I'm actually gonna use this as a template, so you've made a cardboard one. If I smash that flat, you can see how delicate I'm being. That is now my template, so I can just scribe straight around that, chop it out, fold it up, and we should be perfectly to size. That is my new piece to go in there. It will be a butt weld, so I can grind it all. Well, bollocks! It will be a butt weld, so I can grind it all smooth. So I'll get the welder out, set up, and I might even do some GoPro recording. That's all welded. I did a seam all the way around that plate, so water can't get in again. And because it was all quite thick metal, I could really turn the welder up, get a lot of penetration. That can go on there like so, hopefully without me dropping it. There we go. And then I'll get a clamp that up, and I can weld those two in. Okay, that one is in and welded, and I've just ground it flat and put a bit of zinc paint on it. From the underside, what was happening was all of the under seal was burning off and coming up, where are we? Over there. Coming up through the gaps as I welded. So that was contaminating my shielding gas, so some of them went a bit funny. and then I blew a couple of holes, so I had to stop, turn the welder down and then carry on. But once the exhaust is out of the way, all of this will be ground flat and rust treated and all the rest of it, so that will be nice. And then this one, I've clamped it in position. I hadn't originally intended it as a butt weld, I just got my pattern a bit small, so it should be overlapping because it's a lot easier to weld. This time it's going to be a butt weld, which will be harder to weld and then more clean up underneath. So I'm going to have the welder cut down quite small, or turned down quite small, so I don't just blow loads of holes, and I'll really take my time, almost doing it as a tacking process, like tack here, tack at the corners, tack between, then weld it up. And then I'll go around the other side and weld down those two lips, flanges, things, tee-hee-hee, and then we should be good. Right, that's all welded in. It's very tempting sometimes when you've done welds to grind it completely flat smooth, but it's very easy to then just sand out all of the strength that you put in, so I haven't gone silly. Plus all of this gets smeared with a, see that's the remains of the old seam sealer. That carries on all the way through, so all of this area is going to be completely plastered with seam sealer. It even came up to about there, so all of this will be hidden. And then it's got the sound deadening pads, which is that bituminous stuff which goes on all of it, so it's pointless going silly buggers making stuff look beautifully neat. On the police car, which I've always prattle on about and I've never really done any videos on, but that was done on a rotisserie, so I had the car and could turn it 360 degrees. So all of these sorts of repairs, well, in fact on that car I put a whole new boot floor in because I had one. In fact I got one in the garage, I might go and show you. But yeah, if you've got easy access you can make beautiful invisible repairs. If you're just tossing up a boot floor like this on this thing, I can't really be bothered. So what I'll do is do all the welding from above, then once all that's done I'll take the underside to bare metal, well close to, epoxy it, seam seal it, underseal it, so it should all look perfect. Right, I am gonna have a little break for a while. I might go and show you a boot floor just if you're interested. Welcome to James's Cave of Wonders. There is the V8 that I rebuilt for the Van den Plas EFI, which I've never done a video on. Well, never done a video on the car, just the engine. Over here we have an entire brand new old stock boot floor. So I've been repairing that bit down there. That's the tie down strap thing I'll talk about for the spare wheel. These are the trailing arm, sorry, Watts linkage mountings. See, that one there is plug welded or spot welded to the chassis. The one I was working on is plug welded or spot welded, but then also bolted. I don't know whether you can see them, but you could see them on the underside of my car. So it's a really strange arrangement. Why they decided they would bolt and weld it is beyond me, but they did. So this I'm saving for either my twin Plenum Vitesse or my gold V8S, both of which had had horrible patch repairs done, and although I could do patch repairs again, they're both cars that really deserve to be done as close to original as possible. So what I intend to do is pick off this pressing from here, separate it from the chassis rail things and the bum support brackets, and then chop the old boot floor out and drop this in. I've done it before, it's a bit of a pain, it's very time consuming even just separating these neatly. let alone getting the old boot floor out of the old car. So I've been keeping this because that probably, I don't know, it's probably like 350, 400 quid's worth. And I will not be able to get another one probably. So yeah, gonna save that for one of the really nice cars. I've made that patch now to go in there, plug weld holes on the back to go onto that seam on the bit I've just fitted. I won't bother recording it because it's just more of the same really. Before I go and get some lunch, I thought I would show that area all finished. Somebody was asking whether you weld both sides. I don't, and I could have done on this one. I could have run some beads of welds up there, but it's really not necessary. It's just kind of a detail thing. I'm just going to seam seal it, so it'll be fine. That's all done, and then around this side, that's all finished too. It's not like a concourse job, obviously, but it's not going to be a concourse car. The whole point, again, I have to keep reminding myself, the whole point was just to save the car. It was too rare, and when you see a car go round on eBay 2 or 3 times and no one buys it, you kind of know it's going to go in the bin. So that's what we're doing. Right, I'm going to go and get some food and have some birthday cake, because it is in fact my birthday today. Right, back from lunch. We have brand new old stock rear lamp panel. Still has its original Rover part number plate on it. I'm going to nip that off, clamp it up into the car roughly. This is not to weld it in, it's just so that I can start making up my return panel patch thing, because it comes up not to a straight line but to this curved bit, so it's a bit of a fiddle. It's just resting in there at the moment, but I just wanted to explain, always when fitting these SD1 rear panels, the only thing that really matters is this line here, because that's what you're going to see. So ignore how it aligns in these tail light aperture bits or what's going on up here. This could all be moved up and down, it doesn't matter. You just got to, yeah, ignore all that. It's just got to be that line there is good. They always are a bit wonky donkey in and around the rear lights because it didn't matter in the factory. Just got to get that line right. That's somewhere close, certainly close enough for me to begin to work on the patches to go in there. Can't quite work out yet whether I'm going to do it in 1 or 2 patches. I might do it in 2 because where this finishes, it's at about the bottom of that curve. I'm trying to do a complex curve that goes in 2 directions. It's going to be a pain, so I think I will do it in 2 smaller patches. Right, I'll go and get my cardboard and my scissors and a pen. This is a strange and awkward piece of patch repair to put in because there's a couple of weird curves going on. This bit will essentially sit flat there underneath. Then this bit needs to fold up and then rotate outwards by about 90 degrees at the top. So it's that curve there that's an odd one. So the plan is to fit this, tack weld it to the car first, offer it up, clamp it to here, and then bend these sections up. I might put the beginnings of an upward curve here, but I can't do the bend down because that'll be in the way. So it's a bit of slowly catchy monkey, general faffage I think we'll call it. That's my template blank thing clamped in. Gonna weld it along that edge while I've got really nice access, cut through there, begin folding it up, put the panel back on, beat it to shape against the panel, take it off, weld it up properly, put it back together again, make the other patch. That's welded on there. Now I'm going to bend and roll it up so that this piece matches that piece. That bit stays flat and this bit does something in between. Wish me luck. My GoPro is cold and has run out of batteries, otherwise I would be showing this. Basically I've been bending that up and it's gonna work, this sort of method, but still a little uncertain as to where everything goes. So what I'm going to do is tack it along this edge, because I know that's right, cut through there with a saw, weld that bit to that bit, then I can hammer and dolly this into the rough sort of profile, and that I probably won't film because it will involve me lifting this on and off several times to make sure. Well, I was filming, but I think I lost all the video because my battery was going flat on my iPhone. So what I've done is welded that bit in, folded that lip up, welded the lip, filled in some pinholes as well in that bit. Now I'm just going to go and take this off again, sand it again, offer it up again, and basically go through the laborious process of getting this all to fit nicely. I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this because I can barely see it, but if I cover that bit up, hopefully the phone will adjust. That is all sitting nicely. This is left long, so that can come off now. These bits I'll weld up, then I can do some final dressing, but that shape is all perfect. And then this patch should be reasonably easy to make because it's just rectangular with a 90-degree return on this end and a slight up sweep on that end, so all looking good. Okay, that is in. So it curves in a couple of funny ways, all welded together, all the right shape for that bit of the rear panel. I've cut that off straight, so tomorrow or whenever I get back to it I can make that panel and hopefully put the rear lamp panel in. It looks like a big chunk of welding, but it's actually should be fairly straightforward. Fingers crossed, touch wood and all the rest of it. So I'm going to zinc paint that and then call it a night. See you later. It's been a good few days, I won't say weeks, but I never got back out here to finish that side and put the rear lamp panel on before it pissed down with rain and all sorts of other life stuff happened, like jobs. So I bought myself a couple of tarpaulins to cover the car up so it should be reasonably dry in there. Gonna uncover all of that, finish off that patch, and basically remind myself what I'm meant to be doing. Not too bad. There was some water in there which I've spooned out. A lot of it is just grindings and stuff like that. So really need to make that last infill panel for there, which has the same upward curve as this side here with a little return to go onto there, and we should be ready to do final prep of the boot rear lamp panel. I started making up a cardboard template, but I soon realised that in order to do this accurately I needed the rear lamp panel in so that I knew how high to make that sort of upward curve. So that's been clamped in again, roughly lined up. I'll make the cardboard template, I'll make my metal patch and I'll weld it in. We're basically left with something like that. So that will come up, that's the seam for the side, that's the base of the floor, that is the little bit that curls up, and then these are the two returns which that bit will be plug welded down onto. So I'm going to go transfer that to steel and then chop and get all my kit out ready for welding. I might actually tack this in while this panel's still there, just so that I can make sure that this bit's bent up the right shape. That's my patch made. I had to put a slight curve in it here because the boot floor actually is curved, but it's straight at that line there. I haven't bothered doing that bit. I'll do that when this bit's tacked at least. So that's going to go in there. Actually going to do it as a butt weld because you will see this from the outside of the car, so I might have to shave a little bit more off just so that this sits inside there nicely. I've cleaned off all of the old paint and underseal in here and then given it a quick coat of weld through primer. But yeah, I'm going to go get the welder, maybe do a tiny bit more sanding so that fits perfectly, then tack it in. That went okay. I blew a hole where I did my plug weld and a couple of other ones, but it's no big deal because I can get to all of this nicely. What's important is that the curves are right. So now I'm going to scribe a line where I need that fold to start, from there into this join here, and then I can take the panel off, fold it all up, put it all back together again. That wants to come in a little bit as well. Ouch. So I'll have to be conscious of that, get that panel right against the bumper stop. It all is aligned here, but it just kicks out a bit, that last point. So I have to bear that in mind. It might look a bit of a mess now, but this really is the easiest way of doing it. So I've marked a reference line on here and then just bent with a pair of grips up to here and then back down. I'm going to now weld in all of this properly, clean up any bits where I kind of blew holes, although actually that seam's worked out quite nicely. It's all very close together. So I'll get my grinder, knock all of this back, weld it all up nicely, weld up through there, trim that off, weld this bit, then I'll offer the panel back on to do the final shaping. That's all clean. Well, it's not cleaned up, I haven't done that yet, but I cleaned up this. That just hurt. I just put my hand in molten metal. That's that seam which looked like I'd blown holes through, and I had a bit, but by the time that's all seam sealed you won't see it. Same with most of this actually. All of this whole bit gets a big slug of seam sealer. But yeah, that's butt welded nicely. Well, I say nicely, it's no big holes or anything. I've tacked up that edge there. That's the sort of penetration underneath. So I know that I can grind the top side smooth and the bottom side smooth, and it should be good. I've tacked it here. Next, I'm going to beat that bit back down again, clean up all of these welds, put the rear lamp panel back in, hammer that up, clamp it, just double check the final fit before I weld that fillet. It's so time consuming. I think I've been out here, you know, an hour maybe, and I've done what is essentially one patch. That is about as far as I can go for the moment. That's all in. I kind of sanded it semi-smooth underneath just because it doesn't need to be perfect because it's going to have textured under seal which will hide most of it. And I don't want to sand the strength away, so I haven't gone silly on the inside too. You can still see where the weld was, so it's nice and strong. There's no flex there whatsoever, which is ideal. So that is all of the major welding operations done. There's a few silly things left to do, like, where is it? This is the spare wheel tie down strap thing again. That needs welding on in there. There are probably I'll spot some pinholes or something, but what I'm going to do now is weld that on first. Then I'm going to fit my strip and clean disc to the grinder and go over the whole of the boot floor, get as much of this muck off as I can, degrease it, and then paint it with red oxide, just really as a stopgap. Ultimately it'll all be seam sealed and epoxied, but if I can flood all of these seams with red oxide, I'll blow it all out with the airline as well if I can be bothered to go and charge it up. I need to charge the air compressor up anyway because I need to punch all the holes for my spot welds, plug weld things. But yeah, I shall do that, and then we should be painting, let that dry, come back, weld the back panel on. That took quite a while. Basically all of the old under seal stuff is off, back to bare metal in most places. Now I'm going to go get the Hydrate 80 and flood those seams and any sort of problem areas like that bit, which was a bit damaged by being picked up by a forklift truck, in there, wait for that to dry, come back and red oxide it. So this is the Hydrate 80, which I'm sure you've all seen before. But I'm going to put this rust killer on first and let it flow into these seams, and then I can just have a little bit more confidence that there's nothing hiding in there. There shouldn't be, because it's all new metal, but it's been damp and we're outside, so best to be safe. My friend Paul has a different way of doing this, and he might be right, but what he does is before he seam seals everything, he actually wax oils these sorts of areas. So he'll spray cavity wax into all of these seams. He'll probably do this for sort of rust killing first, then he'll cavity wax it, then once the cavity waxing is done, he'll seam seal over the top, which is probably quite a good idea. I've never actually done it myself. I could still do it on this one if I want to, but I will probably just go with the Hydrate 80 seam sealer and epoxy. The red oxide is really going on as stop flash rust and stuff like that. It's quite an expensive way of doing it, but this project, as you will have known and has no doubt frustrated you, is dragging on. I did manage to do all of, well, pretty much all of Dotty in the interim, which I wasn't expecting to, or certainly not to that standard anyway, but that's what happened. So we will carry on doing this, go watch the Formula 1 qualifying, and then come back and do the red oxide later this afternoon. I'm about halfway through painting the boot and it's bloody started raining, so I'm going to have to pack up all my tools and, I don't know, put the cover back on, which is super irritating. Rain has officially stopped play, but it's not the end of the world, because I've done now in the boot floor. That's all painted. It'll dry a kind of matte red colour, not glossy. It's not the final finish, obviously. It still needs all the seam sealing, epoxy, blue paint, sound deadening pads, blah 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 blah, but at least it's weatherproof, so I can refit my cover, go and have another cup of tea, and I was going to fire up the compressor and punch all the holes in my tail panel ready to weld on, but it's soggy, so I'm going to leave that for another day.